Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. Being separated from someone you love is stressful, especially when it's your own child or a beloved grandchild or children. The stress of estrangement can affect your mental and physical health, and when stress is prolonged, it can also give rise to depression. Hence this episode on self-care. And even if you think you've heard it all before, please stay with me, because I might cover some slightly different angles. Now, one of the hardest things about self-care, first of all, is that the more your circumstances call for it, the harder it is to come up with the energy and the oomph to take steps on your own behalf. So my first self-care tip is to recruit other people, to support your intention to actively care for yourself. This might be a friend, family member, or a local support group. Choose someone geographically near you, if at all possible. Let them know you need to take good care of yourself right now, but you might have a hard time doing that, so you need their help. They can help with logistical stuff like doing research online or making phone calls on your behalf, or just being available socially. Decide right now to seek and accept help, even if you're not used to doing that. When I ask the parents I work with about their self-care, they often say things like, "Oh, my self-care is great. I go to yoga 3 times a week, I'm a member of such and such a club, I do volunteer work, and I have lots of friends." And that is all wonderful. I would never disparage any of that. But there's a different kind of self-care that I think is often overlooked. It's something quieter and more basic than staying busy, even good busy, and even more fundamental than social contact, although that's extremely important and beneficial according to lots of research. The self-care I'm talking about is cultivating compassionate attention for the person who's been through everything that you've experienced in your life. All of the hardships, the deprivations, large and small, the disappointments, the unacknowledged sacrifices, the boundary violations, the losses, and the rejections. Actively taking note of and caring about the injuries you've sustained is truly caring for yourself. My first book, Constructive Wallowing, guides you to care for yourself by becoming a compassionate witness to your own emotional life. Instead of always trying to soldier on, despite feeling exhausted or miserable, you can be your own nurturing parent, offering yourself a soft place to fall and rest before getting up again. Being there for yourself in that way over time will ease your burdens on a very deep level. So that's my second self-care tip. Activities, even healthy, positive ones, are not the only way that we care for ourselves. Whenever your emotions seek your kind attention, be there for yourself in the privacy of your own heart by paying attention with patience and kindness. I'll put a link to my Constructive Wallowing book in the show notes, along with some other links to self-compassion resources. A third avenue of self-care is trying to resolve, and not just manage, chronic physical pain. If you have migraines, back pain, fibromyalgia, joint pain, nerve pain, pelvic pain, or any other type of pain that's been with you for longer than a few months, you should know that there have been advancements recently in pain science. Our understanding of chronic pain is evolving to include not just management, but in more and more cases, actual healing. For many people, not necessarily everyone, but for more people than ever before, it is becoming possible to mitigate or even end the chronicity of physical pain. I'll put some links in the show notes so you can see what I'm talking about and make your own assessment. A fourth self-care strategy involves physical movement. The classic self-care strategies of bubble baths and chocolates have been updated to include binge-watching TV shows. But what all of those tactics, old and new, have in common is that they are sedentary. Unless you have medical advice against all movement, which I suspect is rare, Moving your body in some way every day is important for your well-being. I'm not talking about aerobics or CrossFit training unless you want to do those things. I'm talking about literally just moving instead of staying still. Walking is considered one of the best activities for most people. When you walk, you don't have to hurry, you don't have to go far. But as long as you're moving in some fashion, all of the systems in your body are getting the message that you are alive and kicking, so they can be inspired to behave accordingly. Move more, sit less. Keeping your body healthy, meaning free of damage, disease, and atrophy, is a cornerstone of self-care. You can't always avoid damage or disease, of course, but most of us have something to say about whether we move. This is a great place to enlist the help of a friend or a group. Walking groups or walking buddies are very popular, and for good reason. They combine movement with social contact for a double dip into healthy self-care activities. If you combine social walking with spending time outside, or even better, in nature, then you're getting a real bang for your self-care buck. You may be a little surprised by my next tip for self-care because it doesn't often show up under that heading, but protecting your personal boundaries is very much an act of self-care. Let's say you have a friend who always seems to call when you're busy and keeps you on the phone longer than you'd like. If you're like me, sometimes you'll answer the phone when you'd rather not, or stay in a conversation you'd prefer to wrap up. But when we make those choices, we're providing more care for others than for ourselves. And to be clear, it is your right and your prerogative to place other people's needs before your own, if you want to. But when you're stressed, depressed, and not at your best, that seems the right time to prioritize self-care over other care whenever possible. That's where boundaries come in, along with the need to assert and protect them. You might have boundaries around your time, your activities, what you choose to discuss and with whom, how much you sleep, cry, stay home, or go out. All of those are up to you. As an adult, you get to make and respect your own choices. To me, that is self-care. My last tip for now is this. You can do everything I talked about, plus everything you've ever heard of about self-care. But if you're carrying unresolved trauma, then your self-care will ideally begin with focused trauma treatment with a properly trained professional. In my opinion, competent trauma treatment is the first step to healing from estrangement and other life stresses for those who do have trauma. A physical aspect of resolving trauma is managing your nervous system, and an integral part of that is breathing. There's a whole world of breathing and breath work out there to help everyone, not just trauma survivors, optimize our mental and physical health. Let me list those main self-care strategies again. Number 1, ask for support implementing your self-care intentions. 2, cultivate self-compassion as you actively engage with all of your emotions. 3, learn about new approaches to chronic physical pain if you have any. 4, move your body every single day, even just a little bit, outside if possible. 5, show yourself some love by protecting your boundaries. And 6, if you have trauma, prioritize treatment for it. You deserve care and attention, and I hope this episode has inspired you to take action to create or build on your personal self-care strategy. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please, take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.